I'm a soccer fan. I watch the growth of that sport, and I see so many of those athletes have zero guidance, zero help, and there's a lot of need. Are you finding that they're more receptive today as you go, or is there any change in the last couple of years as you've been developing this in the openness to receive this information versus maybe at a time where people were super closed, or did it take a little while to kind of break through?
So it has drastically changed in the last decade. I mean, even from when I was playing, we were never encouraged to do things off the field. We were never encouraged to identify ourselves as something other than a football player. It has been a blessing and a curse, a lot of pros and cons to the NIL world coming into college sports. I'm sure you are seeing it is now in high schools. We are having the same conversations I had with athletic departments 4 years ago. I'm now talking to private schools, high schools, in that same manner. What that has done, again, for all the good, for all the bad, is it has forced younger athletes to identify themselves as a business. You are an athlete, but you are also a business. And so with that knowledge, it comes no longer a forced conversation, but a thirst for the conversation. If I am going to be a business, how do I conduct myself? What am I supposed to do? The questions rookie, second, third, fourth year players in the NFL are asking me today are a decade ahead of what the conversations were when I was playing. So yes, I have seen a massive shift in this idea of the new modern day athlete. I think it was kind of broken by the Golden State Warriors when they got in touch with Silicon Valley and started to realize I can make $100-200 million off the court. I can make $1 billion, on the court. I can make $1 billion off of the court. And so they started to evolve and adapt this mindset of, yes, we are athletes, but we are the new generation of wealth. Hundreds of millions of dollars, now becoming billions. I challenge every NFL team that I talk to and say, in 20 years, is this a $1 billion room? Are you able to take what you're taking now in 20 years as a unit, turn it into $1 billion? And I believe they will be able to, because they're starting to speak this language. For so long, we have confused and really challenged the financial language to make it so taboo and so foreign so people can charge higher and higher fees. That is being done away with. Companies like Money Vehicle are out to say the masses should take these actions and these steps. Once you get into wealth and get into specifics, you need advice, you need guidance. But the fundamental principles of how to begin, how to start, everybody's journey starts with the same actions. And so, yes, the vast difference in conversation is coming from this idea that knowledge is being shared. There is no more fear of money, fear of this conversation and topic. And people really aren't concerned with failing as much. And when I say failing, I'm not talking about investing in something they shouldn't. I'm talking about asking, well, I don't really know what an insurance deductible is. That is a fail for them. That is their ego that 5 years ago they would have never asked. But today they're starting to step out and say, embarrassed or not, this is a language I need to speak and I need to know it tomorrow. So I'm not worried about asking the question today.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned growing up is I grew up in a really blue collar family, and you didn't talk about money. Like I asked all kinds of questions. Being an entrepreneur at heart my whole life, I was always curious. Mom, how much do you make? Dad, how much do you make? Who makes more? Like, how does that work? How much do you get to keep? I was always interested because I also saw parts of life where I felt like we could do better, or there might be some things that I just wanted to make things better in some way, and I wanted to solve the equation. I've advised for so many years for families to do the opposite, which is get open about money, reduce the barriers around money, create a conversation that's comfortable. We went through a major investment banking deal and an acquisition and all kinds of stuff. I talked to my sons in detail about all the biggest challenges, about what was so hard. I had my son come out to me while I was in an ice bath, and we had just had a conversation inside, and he came out, my 18-year-old, who was 17 at the time. He goes, Dad, how could it have been the best year of your life, but also the hardest? I don't understand that. Like, I'm lost at why. And he caught me at a moment where I couldn't not be like deep because
Yeah.
I'm in deep cold water, about 40 degrees at the time. And and I said, anything worth having and worth working that hard for is going to hurt. It's going
Yeah.
to be painful. And at the end of it, you have to even question how much and how much it was worth it. Was it worth it? Was it not? Do I do it again? Is there something valuable I learned? And then the last thing I told him, I said, as I was going through this major business change and opportunity, I actually told somebody along the way, one of my extremely close friends who was by my side through the entire thing, I said, if we made nothing through this, I mean zero, but we learned everything we just learned, I hate to tell you, but what we just learned and that secret is worth 10x what we just got paid. Having gone through it, learned it, and then exceeded and excelled at it, been successful through it, regardless of the end result. It's the mental wisdom you take away from that that changes everything. And so I didn't get that deep while I was in the ice bath. I had to give quick answers. I was out in about 4 minutes. But the point I'm getting at is that the sheer fact that he's asking me those questions was something I worked really hard at. And part of what I was trying to do was break down the barriers. I thought I could be a teacher or a cop growing up. Like that was my entire mentality. And as it started to shift and I started to see other options, I learned that part of it was just breaking down those barriers in not only my brain, but everyone around me.
I mean, connecting into the enemy of good, the enemy of great is just being good. And people really downplay what that last inch, that last mile, that last whatever you want to call it, what it's going to take. As you said, anything worth getting is going to be hard. If it wasn't, everybody would go and get it. And that is something I press upon my daughters. I was an athlete. My wife was an athlete. They're naturally talented. But the difference between talent and skill is work. You have zero talent. You can go be the most skilled player on any field in the world. And so I really love that call out of the suck, of the hard. I stand in front of groups of people and somebody raises their hand and says, I want to be an entrepreneur. I say, stand up. Scott, what's your idea? Okay, great. I don't think you should do that. And you pause and you freeze and you say, if some guy is going to distract you from this dream, you didn't want it bad enough, because there's going to be 100 days you wake up and go, what the heck am I doing and why am I doing it? There is a high likelihood that I'd get $0 and a lot of knowledge. That is something you have to be comfortable with. But the idea that we want the short fix, we want the quick answer. The reason I have success is because I do things for a decade in the dark that people come and ask me about in the light 10 years later. You asked me about my journal, 15 years, this company and this curriculum I have built, now fastest growing in the United States. Superintendents are asking me, how did you do this so fast? I said, I started building this thing in 2014. That is not that fast. You have to be willing to go into the darkness and work without reward. That is the price of greatness. And if you really want to be elite, and something that I have found amongst the best in the world is this phrase of enjoying the hunt. Yes, you want to kill. Yes, you want to put it up on the wall. But you realize the greats are in there every morning and loving the pain, because the pain is what they know separates themselves. That talented individual that has been given everything is never going to be able to succeed the way I am, because they've never failed. They've never had to work through it. I was listening to the NVIDIA founder talking to a room full of Stanford grads and just going, I feel bad for you, because you've never experienced the suck. You've never gone through that hardship. Anything great, anything worthwhile in any profession is going to be hard. I also just celebrated my 15-year wedding anniversary. People go, oh man, blah, 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 you guys, it's like, no, just as hard. 15 years, like it's nothing good is easy. And so I love the call out, because that is something I really want to press upon my kids, myself, and really everybody. We all want gumdrops and roses every day, and that's just not the reality of life. You got to go work for something and truly, eventually, take it from somebody else if it is something worthwhile.
If you like clips like this, I have a similar clip here. And if you want to watch the full video, click here.